Happy Thursday. Hey. All right, let's get right into it. So, have you ever seen a photographer's work and said to yourself, or maybe you were talking to your fiance and you said to yourself, babe, I really have to have this particular photographer for the wedding. And babe is totally in it with you. They're like, I get it. I want the quality as well. But at the same time, you guys are like, I have no clue what it costs, what I'm gonna have to spend. You're thinking about other things that are in your budget, which is totally logical as well. And you're like, what do I do? So today, I'm talking to you about what wedding photography should cost you as a couple. So, I'm super excited to talk about this topic because I want to give you some real logical tips that you probably would not think have that much influence, being that you're the couple and it's a business, right? So you're probably like, oh, I don't really have a say on what wedding photography would actually cost me, when in all reality you do. So before I continue, you know this is live. So if you have any questions, you can more than certainly leave a comment, and I will address it in this episode or in another episode. All right, so I'm going to get into the first thing. So I kept it really simple for you guys. You guys know I love to give you actual things that you can write down, tips that you can use. So I'm going to pull that up for you guys right now. And these are the 7 things that you should actually pay attention to when it comes to determining how important wedding photography is to you and determining your budget. Okay, so here I go. You guys should be able to see this title. All right, there we go. Okay, I just want to make sure it keeps coming up and then you can see me. Okay, perfect. Yay. All right, good. Okay, so the first thing that you should ask yourself, and I'm pulling up the list again. The first thing that you should ask yourself is, how much do you value time? And here's the reason why you should ask yourself this question. There are different packages, collections. What the photographer actually calls them is very like the least important to you compared to what is actually offered in the package or the collection. So, for example, if you know, so we're doing number 1, which is, do you value time? If you know that your wedding day is going to be 8 hours and you want the day captured, consecutively or just period, right? Then you're not going to book a wedding photographer for 6 hours, because chances are, if you go outside of that 6-hour collection, there's overtime fees, there's things that you have to think about that will contribute and tap into your actual budget, right? So you don't want to book someone under the hours that you actually need someone for coverage. So that's one of the first things that you need to think about is, do I value time? And if I value time, how long do I actually need this wedding photographer? That's one question you should ask. And I'm going to go into number 2. The next question you should ask yourself is, do you value experience? Okay. The reason why this is important is, and I have to give you the comparison so that you understand. The reason why this is important is, people who have more experience are more than likely to charge more money, because they know what they can give you compared to someone that does not have experience. It's not about ego. It's about actually delivery and quote unquote experience. So if they have more experience, they're going to charge more for that simple fact. Period. It's not any deeper than that. And you will see the difference. So experience is a key factor. And the other thing about experience is you need to actually dive into that. Yes, does looking at the website contribute to the experience that someone will give? Absolutely. Does looking at the images and how they answer email, like all of that ties into quote unquote experience, right? But the reality is someone who is less experienced will more than likely charge less than someone who has a lot of experience. So number one was, do you value time? And that is with looking in the collections to see how much time is offered. And then number two is experience. So now I'm going to get into number three. Ready? Number three is, do you read reviews / listen to referrals? Okay. Now, this really depends on you as a consumer. If you don't really care what other people think about the purchase that you're about to make, whether it's for your home or for like I said, for your wedding, then it doesn't really matter what other people might think. But if reviews and referrals do matter to you, then that's something that you need to be looking at. So what you should be doing is going to the website of the photographer that you're considering, and you look at their reviews. So for example, let me pull this up really quick for you guys so you can get what I'm saying. So during your wedding search, you should be looking at what other people are saying. Of course, you should be going to the website, right? Because that's how you'll be able to see their images and things of that nature, right? But when you go to their site, there we go. I wanted to make sure that you guys could see the secondary display. Okay, so when you guys go to their website, you want to look at reviews. So this is my website. This is actually my homepage, and you can see like some of my imagery and videos and stuff, learn more about me, blah, 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 right? All of that's there. It's important, but for what I'm talking about right now, okay? But the place where you can find reviews is right under here, under my wedding experience tab by just clicking testimonials. Some photographers will have it as reviews, some will have it under press. All of that jazz as far as like where they have the actual review. I'm right here, guys, if you're looking for me. Where they have the actual review on their website doesn't really matter. It's really looking at what's actually said, what the couples actually experience when they work with that particular photographer, right? So for me, my review page is also where you can see a lot of like the press and awards that I have and features that I've been in and publications and print, and the list goes on and on and on, okay? And I mean that in a good way. So you definitely want to look at reviews as another way of determining how much should my wedding photography cost me as a couple. And if you're still trying to figure out like how this all matters, trust me, it does. When I get to the last one, it will all tie in together. But I have to give you all 7 of them, okay? All right, so let's get into the next one. And that is number 4. Do you value quality of images? Now, this is where it is completely subjective, okay? It's completely what you think of the imagery and the skill and the style. That's a factor of the actual photographer that you're looking at. Whether it's a photographer that you're solid and set on, or whether you're looking at numerous photographers trying to narrow down like who you actually want for your wedding, okay? So quality of image, by the definition of the word quality, and I want to make sure I'm breaking this down even further so you can understand too, is really determined by you. Like, as a photographer, I can look at somebody else's work and see where they're lacking, and somebody may look at my work and see where they're lacking. As a couple, you need one of the main ways that you can ask yourself if you like the quality of imagery that the photographer delivers is, can you see yourself in their photos? And I know that sounds weird because you may be looking at a couple that doesn't look like you, and not trying to be funny, that is a key factor. So I'll give an example. This is no shade or not being rude, but sometimes, well, you know what? A lot of times I have African American couples that come to me and they say they can't see themselves in other photographers' work because they don't see couples of color. That's just a fact. It's a real statement that I receive. So that's a factor when they could be looking at another photographer who, let's just throw it out there, might be better than me in their eyes, right? So they may be looking at them and say, man, like I love the color, I love the vibe, whatever you break it down to, but they don't see any couples that look like them, so therefore they can't see themselves in your work. That's sometimes how simple it is when couples are looking at wedding photography, okay? So you want to look at, do you see consistency in the work that you're looking at from the wedding photographer, okay? So you shouldn't go from like picture to picture and feel like, well, that doesn't really look like what I saw over there. Now, there's a couple of factors, and I want to give you guys a quick tip on that too. So I'm taking you back to my website, okay? This is a perfect example of what I'm talking about in reference to when you're, as a couple, when you're looking, can you see yourself? So I'm sharing this, but it's not really, there's so many other factors too to determine why a couple actually signs with, book someone over another. So I don't mind sharing this as an example, but if you look at my gallery page, you see I have an African American bride and I have a white bride. Okay, a Caucasian, same difference, right? Bride of color, just so you guys don't take it any other way, right? When you look at the imagery, the style is the same. The style is the same, the color is the same, the energy is the same, even though their dresses are significantly different. They both are wearing veils. The location is different, 2 different venues, right? The whole point is the color and the energy and the vibe is the same. If you click on the gallery, you'll see the vibe does not change from their wedding, right? Okay? And if you click on the other gallery, you'll see, once it pops up for you guys, same energy, right? Same energy. Okay, so as a couple, that's something that you should be looking at too. Like, do you see consistency of color, of quality from wedding to wedding? Because why? Your wedding may not be at the venue that these weddings are on my website, right? So even saying, oh, have you shot at my venue? That's not even on my list of how to determine how much wedding photography should cost for you. It's not on my list because it's such a minimal factor. Like, people who know what they're doing can shoot anywhere. I can shoot out of state and deliver the same quality that I deliver in Florida. Like, that's not a factor. That's why I don't even have it on the list, okay? So I don't want to stay too long on this one, but that is what you need to ask yourself. Let's go to the next one. So the next one is, how important is wedding photography to you, okay? Now we start to get into what I like to call the nitty-gritty questions that you have to ask yourself as a couple, as far as how important is wedding photography to you. Because if it's not that important to you, you probably won't spend a lot of money on it because it's not that important to you. That's just the reality. So the choice between someone who costs $1,500, I'm just throwing random numbers. The choice between someone who costs $1,500 compared to someone who costs $4,000 just at their minimum is going to be very easy if you're simply stuck on price. Okay, because if it's not that much of value to you, then you're gonna be like, oh, $1,500 is like what I'm willing to spend and not blink, right? Okay, because it's not, you don't really value it. You want it, right? But you don't value it as much. Another example, like just take it off of wedding photography just so you can get an example of what I'm trying to say. There are things that people get from like the dollar store that they don't get from Publix because they're like, oh, I want it, right? I want it, but it's not that much value to me. So I'm just going to go to the dollar store and get that here. Doesn't mean that the dollar store is, cheesy, because there's things that I buy, sometimes Lysol and things like that, right? Still works, still usable. It's just for that particular product, I'm going to go here. So does that make sense? Right? So that's a question, and that's where you get deeper into how much do you actually value photography? How important is it to you? Okay. The next question, and I'm pulling this up as a solo slide for you guys because this one, and let me also add my face, my beautiful face, so that you guys can see me as I'm talking to you. This one is very, very, very important, okay? This one is super, super, super important because we are in a time now where wedding videography is here. It's here. It's not going anywhere. It's still sort of new to people, but the reality is it's really not going anywhere. And so you need to figure out if this is something that you want, then you need to figure out how this fits into your actual budget, okay? Because, and let me just pull this off for you guys. I clicked the wrong thing. Sorry, y'all. Okay. The reason why you need to determine this is because you will definitely spend a significant difference in money when you have video added to your actual day. Okay? I don't know. I'm talking really slow because I want to make sure that you guys are really understanding how much influence this really does have on your budget and how much wedding photography should cost for you. Okay? So I'm going to put this off and then come back to you guys on the screen. Okay, so if you're deciding to have wedding video alongside with wedding photography, there is a different budget factor, okay? Because some companies offer dual services, so where they have like a combination for both. And if you get both, there could be benefits to you having both services, right? Whereas other companies, it's pretty much an add-on. So the value of how, like what your video would look like, what you would get for the video, etc., can influence what your photography is, okay? And what I mean by that is like what you're paying as a whole. So if you know, like if this is common conversation, or if you've been thinking about it, even if you don't book video, listen to what I'm saying, even if you don't book video in the end, I would still ask what it would cost if you had both. Because if you happen to decide to add it on, at least you know what it would cost you, all right? And then you can determine, like, can we do this? Maybe a family member can help you pay for it. Like, whatever. There are ways to really do it if you really want both services. But you need to ask yourself this question. You need to ask yourself, do I want both services? Do I want photography and video for my wedding? Because that has a major, major, major influence on how you actually budget for yourself, okay? So I wanted to like really slow down for number 6 because that is a major key factor as well. All right, you see, as I'm getting down, they get a little bit more intense, okay? And then the last one is, what's the WIFM? Okay, and if you're reading this, it's number 7. And a WIFM, this is a little acronym, okay? The WIFM is what's in it for me. Now, I am giving you, the couple, a cheat code, okay? Number 7 is a cheat code. I highly recommend that you grab a piece of paper, or if you have like a wedding planning binder or things of that nature, and create your WIFM sheet. I have a WIFM sheet. If you really want it, you can message me. And I can send you my version. But I highly recommend that you create a WIFM sheet, okay? And the WIFM stands for what's in it for me, okay? You need to sit down and use that along with all of the other factors that I mentioned, so 1 through 6, okay? You need to determine out of everything, I just went like super country. Out of everything that I mentioned, what's in it for me? Out of all of the things that I've mentioned, will booking this photographer for my wedding benefit me at the price point that they're at, okay? And again, this is why I gave you 1 through 6, okay? Because, and I'm just going to keep this up, that way you understand what I'm saying. I don't want you to sacrifice time to save money, okay? It's not smart. I don't want you to sacrifice experience, or I should say lack thereof, to save money. You want to have a good experience. You're going to be with this photographer for 8 or more hours. You want someone that you gel with, that you vibe with, that their personality just goes with you, okay? I highly recommend that you read reviews and referrals, because people don't waste their time. Even if a business owner says, please write a review, like, they don't waste their time to write a review. And I would honestly look at the long reviews. Listen to what I'm saying. Even if you don't want to read at least 1 or 2 long reviews. Long reviews are the best. When I look at a product as a consumer, I look at the longer reviews, because if someone's taking that much time to write a review, there's got to be something in there for me to gain from it, okay? So definitely read reviews. Don't sacrifice the quality of images for price. That's just the point that I'm trying to make. And that's why I put the harder ones towards the end, because you can get past 1 and 2. Like, you can kind of determine 1, 2, and 3. You can kind of determine like where those fit in your level of importance. But 4, 5, 6, and 7, those are a little bit tougher to get through. So 1 through 3 should really help you to get through 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, so don't sacrifice quality for price either. How important is wedding photography to you? Again, this is totally how you value it. It's the same thing how you value video. For me, photo and video mean a lot. That's really why I offer it. It has nothing to do with, I offer both services and I'm trying to beat the alternative. Like, that's like way down there on my list. I'm not saying I don't think about it, but it's like way down there. For me, I'll tell you why I value it. I have watched old videos that don't even have sound, okay, of my great-grandparents. I have photos of my grandmother that I look at, and I'm able to put myself back into where she was when she went to Paris. Just seeing like, wow, my grandmother was there. Like, that's somewhere where I want to go. And my grandmother was like super, like, she want to do what she wants to do, okay? So to see like how happy she was, and to see how she dressed back then. And I have a photo when she passed away. I have a photo that I found of myself that's older, and a photo of her. And I put them both side by side. And I was like, wow, like, it's so cool to see even how much I resemble her in some ways, okay? Like, it's really creepy, but it's cool. Those are things that I think about with photography. I think about like when it comes to albums, like people, coming over and looking at your wedding day, and years later when you have your children, or maybe you don't have your own children but you adopt, or your sisters or brothers' children, like family, friends, they come over and they want to see your album. Like the moment you open up that album and you see your wedding photos and you're like, wow, remember this day? Or can you remember when so-and-so did this at the wedding? Or something happened recently and you have something of them. Even on the sadder side, or the not so happy side, if someone passes away, you now have a sealed memory of them. You'd be surprised how many people in this day and age do not have professional wedding photos, because, and